All right, Wade Roots, good for everything, like a Swiss Army knife. There's nothing I can't do for my listeners. Middle-class warrior, relentless freedom fighter, capitalist evangelist, conservative rock star, and your favorite conservative badass. I'm a warrior for God, guns, gold, tax cuts, term limits, Trump, and that big, wonderful, tall wall. It's how we save America, capitalism, American exceptionalism, and Judeo-Christian values, all of which I hold dear. Do you? I relentlessly fight against the communist, Marxist, socialist maggots infesting our country and try to fundamentally change America. I wrote that line since the very beginning of this show, but I should change it now. Relentlessly fight against the Marxist, communist, socialist maggots on the attack against Donald Trump, trying to destroy our president, Donald Trump. They're like cockroaches coming out from the dark. When the lights come on, they scurry back to their darkness. But when it gets dark, they all come out and try to grab food and attack your home. That's the government employees come after Donald Trump, listening to him, eavesdropping, releasing his conversations, trying to destroy his aides, now releasing his tax returns. Rachel Maddow. That's her name, right? It's not Rick Maddow. I think it's Rachel Maddow, right? Never quite sure when I look at her. Is it Rick or Rachel? But Maddow. She is a woman, right? I think. Maybe. Not quite sure. Charlie's not sure. Charlie, my board op, is not sure. He's telling me 50-50. Maybe both. She needs a transgender bathroom. Rachel Maddow, big supporter of transgender bathrooms, I'm sure. She wants to use them. And she was on TV last night making a fool of herself, exposing, I've got Donald Trump's tax returns. I've got him. I've got him. Biggest story of the year. Rachel's going to be a hero to the left. He paid $38 million in taxes. Oh, moving on. There's no story there. He paid $38 million in taxes in 2005. Wow, what a tax cheat. And he paid 25% effective tax rate. Isn't that more than Obama paid in the same year? Yes, it is. Wow. Obama pays less percentage-wise in taxes than Donald Trump. That makes Obama a tax cheat. It's not fair. There's no fairness here. There's no equality. And I've always argued that the rate doesn't matter. What if Donald Trump paid 1%, but it was $38 million? That's not enough for you? A guy pays $38 million in 1 year in taxes. That's not enough for you? He contributes a lot more to the country than the guy who pays 90%, and it's $8.50. So it's the amount that matters, not the percentage. But just going on the liberal idea that percentage matters, Donald Trump happened to pay a much higher percentage than Barack Obama. Obama paid about 19% in his last public tax return. Trump paid 25%, substantially more. My books, The Power of Relentless, An Angry White Male, and The Murder of the Middle Class, all available at Amazon.com. My website, rootforamerica.com, all my opinions on video. You can register for free right now at rootforamerica.com. Get everything I write and everything I put on video for free. The phone number to the show, 844-WAR-NOW-1, 844 toll-free. WAR Now 1, the number 1, which is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. But if you're driving in your car, pretty much the only thing anybody ever remembers is a memorable name, 844-WAR-NOW-1. You can listen online at 790 Talk Now. Click on the top right and you're on, or I should say I'm on. Wayne Root is on with you. 790talknow.com. Listen to shows that you missed on my YouTube channel. We just started doing this about a month ago, so there's about a month of shows up there at War Now Radio. Go to YouTube and click in War Now Radio. The show is sponsored by Swiss America, the gold standard, the number one precious metals company in America. Contact Swiss America at 800-BUY-COIN, 800-BUY-COIN, or go to SwissAmerica.com. All right, time for the world-famous Root Rant. And that's my reaction to some of the biggest news stories of the day. And also kind of a review, or I should say a preview, of what will be coming up during the show, the topics I'll be talking about during the show, and the topics I'd love you to call in on. 844-WAR-NOW-1, 844-WAR-NOW-1. My commentary will be out in the RJ tomorrow morning, the Las Vegas Review-Journal. The worst Republican governor in all of America, Brian Sandoval. I'm sure he'll be happy to read that. I hit him in the face so hard that he may not recover. The worst GOP governor in America, Brian Sandoval, and I'll tell you why, and I'll read you that column during this show. Rachel Maddow, of course, and MSNBC embarrassed themselves with the story about Donald Trump's tax records. Total complete embarrassment, $38 million paid. There were two arguments liberals made. Number one, he didn't pay any taxes, ever, doesn't. And number two, that he doesn't make any money. He's exaggerating his prowess. Well, you know, liberals think if a guy like me makes $500,000 a year, I'm like rich. What do you call a guy who makes $150 million a year? Not $150 million in his life, $150 million in a year. That's what Donald Trump made in the only year that she got, 2005, as federal income tax return. He paid $38 million in taxes. He made $150 million. We'll talk about that in detail. I'll read you the op-ed at CNBC. Donald Trump just got a nice victory thanks to Rachel Maddow. Even CNBC is cracking on MSNBC. And Obama's effective tax rate in 2015, the last year we know about, was about 19%. He paid 18.7% in taxes. Donald Trump paid over 25% in taxes. General Mattis withdraws his Pentagon pick. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, otherwise known as Mad Dog, withdraws his nominee for the Pentagon's top civilian job after lawmakers opposed it because of her close ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. This is not an Obama appointee. This is a Trump-Mattis appointee with ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. Who are all these people? Charlie, Wayne, do any of us ever go near the Muslim Brotherhood? Who goes near the Muslim Brotherhood? What kind of weird people go near the Muslim Brotherhood? I don't know. Where do you find people for major office in America? They've got ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. I find that so weird. Donald Trump slammed Snoop Dogg. Yesterday, I went on a rant for the whole show against Snoop Dogg. Donald Trump ripped in the shreds and screamed jail time, jail time. He said exactly what I said on the show. He said, this is what Trump said. Can you imagine what the outcry would be if Snoop Dogg, failing career and all, had aimed and fired the gun at President Obama? Jail time. And that's what I said on the show, except I said it much less carefully than Donald Trump, by the way. Probably had someone edit his tweet, because I said it much more outrageously. I said, can you imagine if a white Republican aimed a gun in a music video at a black Democratic president like Barack Obama? That's the issue here. That's exactly what Trump was trying to say, but he didn't use the words white and black. But I'm not a president. I'm a talk show host. I say whatever I want. Absolutely, positively, if you are white and you aim a gun at a black president, you are called a racist, and the Secret Service visits you and says you threaten the president's life, and they might take you away. But I wonder if that will ever happen to Snoop Dogg. I'm betting no. FBI's number two in the whole FBI, Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, did not disclose his wife's ties to Clinton Ally record show. You know, I talked about this on this show a lot for about a week, and then you move on to the next news cycle and you forget about it. I completely forgot about it. This guy is the number 2 guy at the FBI, and he was in charge of the Hillary investigation, and his wife got $467,500 from a political action committee controlled by Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia, who's Hillary's best friend, while he was making a decision whether Hillary would be indicted or not. How the hell are these people not all in prison? How is the FBI guy not in prison, Andrew McCabe? You explain that to me. If that's not bribery, what is? I don't know if during this show we're going to get the results of the Dutch election, but of course my hope is that Geert Wilders had a huge win and gains the most seats of anyone running. Leader of the Freedom Party, very much like Donald Trump, and very much in tune with what I think about radical Islam. It's got to be destroyed. Got to cut its head off, put it in a cage, pour gasoline, and set it on fire. Geert Wilders, will he be elected? I'll look it up in the first break here and let you know if any results are in, because I'd like to hear Wilders won. He is the Donald Trump of Netherlands. And I think you'll hear Marie Le Pen is the winner in France soon. And she is the Donald Trump of France. We'll see. We'll see. Europeans are not the same as Americans, though, are they? They don't go for it. They just don't. They did in Brexit, but I was, everyone was surprised by that, not just me, everyone. I thought Brexit would win, but I was shocked when it did win because I just couldn't believe the British actually went with something Wayne Root believes in. And here's another story I want to share during the show. The Illinois General Assembly retirement system is only 13.5% funded. Interest on Illinois' pension debt, $9.1 billion a year. And none of it is funded. 13% funded, down from 17% funded in 2013. Those civil servants are bankrupting Illinois, completely bankrupting Illinois. Just as they're doing in Nevada, just as they do everywhere else in this country. It's a real problem. Government employee pensions are bankrupting this entire country, and no one has the balls to stand up and say it except Wayne Root. And I hope Donald Trump does too, and I think that's why the government employees hate Donald Trump and are trying to destroy him, just because you tell the truth. Nobody wants to hear the truth. No one's saying you're bad people. We are saying that you're bankrupting the country, and you can't make $100,000 a year or more for not working in retirement for the next 40, 50 years. And in Illinois, there are school teachers retiring on $400,000 a year. Insanity and wrong. It's wrong. It's a ripoff. It's a rape. It's horrible. All right, Wade Allyn, we come back. We will have Kevin Wall, segment we call live, from Live and Local, 9 to 12 every day right here, in a segment we call Build the Wall with Kevin Wall. We'll be right back. Wayne Allyn, War Now, 790 Talk Now in Vegas, 98.1 FM in Palm Springs, and soon national syndication all over this great country. War Now. All right, Wayne Allyn back again, 790 Talk Now in Vegas, 98.1 FM in Palm Springs in the Coachella Valley in the People's Communist Republic of California, and soon broadcasting all over this great country. By the way, email from a listener of the show, Patty, just griping about what a disaster Obamacare is. My $771 PPO single plan still does not let me leave the state of Nevada for care. There is no individual, no group PPO in the state of Nevada that allows us out of this state. Still $3,500 deductible medical, $500 prescription deductible, 30% x-ray and lab work bill is on me, plus copays, have to meet deductibles before anything kicks in, had an injury, fell last weekend, may have cracked ribs, but I can't afford x-rays. We do not need the health plan. First, we need to buy across state lines, the ability to go out of state for PPOs. You know that healthcare here sucks. Your last surgery took you to California. True. He, meaning Trump, she means, needs to bring in Betsy McCauley, who wrote the book on Obamacare, need to remove refugee coverage out of the bill, need to remove dimnitude out of the insurance. Legal Muslims must pay just like the rest of us. Patty, interesting thoughts, some of which I guess I didn't even know. You're telling me there's an exception in Obamacare for Muslims? Everyone has to, by law, do Obamacare, but not Muslims? Really? Is that really true? And there's refugee coverage in the bill? I don't know. I'm going to put this to the super sleuths that look things up for me. JD is one of them. JD is my guy who looks up everything. He is so good, JD. He knows more facts and details than anyone I've ever met. And I'm going to put this on JD. I'm going to put him to work. JD, you got to find out for me, is this true? Is there refugee coverage? In other words, if a Muslim refugee comes to America, recruited by Barack Obama, he brought in 1 million of them in his 8 years. From the first day, are you telling me that they get coverage for health care? And is it true that Muslims in general can opt out of Obamacare without the penalty? They get a special deal the rest of us don't get? Is that true? In any case, the important part of Patty's email is that the argument I've been making from the beginning that Obamacare is an abomination. It's a disaster. It's bankrupting the middle class. It covers nothing. The bill is much higher, and it covers nothing. Everything is on you, from the deductible to the copays to the prescriptions, to the x-rays, to the lab work. It is a disaster, so no one really has anything. There is no coverage. Don't you understand? If you think you now have health insurance, but you have a giant deductible and you can't afford the deductible, you're not going to the doctor, therefore you don't have coverage. It's a lie. All right. Segment we call Building the Wall with Kevin Wall. Kevin is every day, 9 a.m. to 12 noon, right here on 790 Talk Now, otherwise known as K-Bet. And his show is called Live and Local with Kevin Wall. And he joins us now. Kevin, are we building the wall today, buddy?
We're building the wall, a great big, huge wall with a huge door.
Wait a minute. You didn't say a big, beautiful wall. A beautiful wall.
A big, beautiful wall, yeah. No, I'll tell you what, you were talking about Obamacare, and it's interesting that Governor Sandoval yesterday had a conversation with Dr. Tom Price, the new Secretary of Health and Human Services. And one of the big things for Governor Sandoval, he's not worried about you and me.
Right.
He's worried about the Medicaid patients. About 2/3 of the people that went on Obamacare in the state went there via the
Medicaid route.
Medicaid, which is poor people or nearly poor people or somewhat poor people, and they get free health care.
Right. Well, by the way, I believe the numbers in Nevada were no worse than the rest of the country. I believe 2/3 of every person that claims they got Obamacare is getting it free on Medicaid. That's who joined. It was nothing but poor and sick people, and the middle class got completely raped, screwed over. And I just don't understand why. I guess Trump makes the case a little bit. He's the only good politician in America. But the reality is very few Republican politicians or media people ever make the argument. I understand you're talking about poor people losing Obamacare, but A, they don't really have anything because they have a $7,000 deductible or whatever it is. Most of them have a $7,000 deductible. Some of them have a $3,500 deductible. Some of them have a $5,000 deductible. But they've really got nothing. But more importantly, why are you worried about 28 million losing it? You're not worried about 150 million middle-class, decent human beings who do all the work and pay all the taxes in America who got completely screwed over and got raped. Why is that not important to you? Why? They got fleeced. They got raped. They got ripped off. They got scammed, and they can't afford it. And that's why one good thing that happened under Obama, the only good thing, is for the whole Obama time, gas prices were really low. And he constantly bragged about that, Kevin. And so everybody thought, all the experts kept saying for 8 years, wow, people are saving so much money on gas. Consumer spending is going to go through the roof. And I'm the only one I know who kept arguing again and again in the media, no, consumer spending is a disaster, will continue to be, because for every $50 a month you save on gas, you're spending an extra $1,200 on your health insurance bill. So explain to me the math of that. How is it good to save $50 on gas and lose $700 or $800 or $1,000 or $1,200 on health care? And so that's why there was no consumer spending. That's why GDP's been a nightmare. That's why Obama had the 8 worst years of GDP in a row in the history of America since 1776. No one's got any money, and it's all because of Obamacare, and no one's got a job, and it's all because Obamacare only allows an employer to either fire everyone or hire part-time employees so you don't have to pay Obamacare. Why does our Governor Sandoval not mention any of that?
Well, and more than that, though, he just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. I mean, on so many levels, I'm really afraid, Wayne. I'm afraid of what he's going to do, because this guy clearly doesn't want to run for other public office, and he's looking for a cushy federal lifetime appointment to the federal bench, and so he doesn't have to run again. He already just the other day announced that he is in favor of the Equal Rights Amendment, the ERA, that died back in 1972, that was passed by Congress in 1972. They had 10 years to get 38 states. They only got 35 states to ratify. And Governor Sandoval the other day announced that he's in favor of it. He
Hey,
doesn't have
Kev?
to sign the bill.
Kevin,
Doesn't have to sign the bill, but he favors it.
I'm in favor of a new equal rights amendment, too. I hate to tell you this, but I think I'll lead the fight. I believe in equal rights for men, and I think we're getting screwed over. Go look at divorce court. I have so many friends getting divorced. Men are destroyed in divorce court. There is no equal rights. Every judge rules in favor of the scorned woman. Every judge screws over the men. We need an equal rights amendment for men. They don't get they don't get their children. They get their money taken away from them. It's completely unfair. It's ridiculous. Someone needs to rule equally for men and women. I'm all for equality. Unfortunately, everything goes the way of women. So I'm for an ERA too. It's a men's equal rights amendment. What do you think of that?
Men's, I love that idea. The other thing, by the way, just very quickly getting back to Medicaid and Governor Sandoval. Of course, Governor Sandoval was one of the governors across the country that agreed, and one of the few Republicans, I might add, that actually agreed to a Medicaid expansion as a part of Obamacare.
Horrible.
But we've been talking about this, and I don't know why somebody hasn't thought of this or proposed this. Why don't we just have the federal Treasury take the 15 or 20 million people that are on Medicaid, let's say, and it's far more than that, but take the 20 million that are, or the 24 million that are going to lose their health insurance, and have the government say, hey, if you want health insurance, we'll write a check, whatever that amount of money. What does it cost? $8,000 in premiums to get a good health care policy.
Well, no,
$9,000
to get a bad one, not a good one, but a bad one. Yeah.
Okay, but minimum health care.
Yeah.
And we're going to give that to you as a part of being a citizen, and it can't be the $2 trillion that we've ended up spending on Obamacare.
Right.
It can't be.
You know, look,
it might be $20 billion or $30 billion, but it's going to be far short of this monstrosity.
Yeah. Well, look, what you're
Obamacare.
talking about is a suggestion along the lines of what I and many other conservatives have always said, which is, I don't know if I can block all new government health care for poor people. I'd like to, because I think everyone has got to work for a living, and everybody has got to pay for their own health care. It's not a right. You have to pay for your own health care. But if I can't block it, then let the poor people have it, let them have Medicaid, and leave the rest of us alone. Why do I have to opt into Obamacare? I don't want it. I want nothing to do with it. I want nothing to do with the system. I want to privately buy across state lines and get the best policy that fits me and my family. And then if you have to deal with a few million poor people, then go deal with them. Put them on Medicaid. Good luck to them, because, Kevin, you and I both know Medicaid's a failure. Medicaid doesn't work because doctors won't accept it. There's no doctors to take them. That's why it's not Wayne being mean. I'm talking about common sense, raw truth. The reality is no one really has Obamacare out of those 24 million because there's no one to see them, and they've got a $7,000 deductible that they can't afford, so they don't have anything in the first place to be taken away. So let them have Medicaid, but leave the rest of us in the middle class alone. Kevin, we're going for a break. We got to take a break. Stay with us. Hang for the second segment, and we'll keep you on. Kevin Wall, Building the Walls, the segment. He's on every day, live and local, with Kevin Wall, 9 a.m., noon, right here, 790 Talk Now, as well as 98.1 FM in Palm Springs. I'm Wayne Allyn, and yes, there's always a battle going on, but this is your war. Now, you know liberals don't like that song because liberals would sing, we're going to take it, all your money, everything you got. We're going to rip it from you. We're going to rape you. We're going to destroy you. We're going to sick the IRS on you. We want it all. You know, they're not happy that Donald Trump paid $38 million in taxes in the year 2005. And they're not happy because to them, it's about the fact that he made $150 million. And if he didn't pay $150 million out of the $150 million, they think he got away scot-free. You know, or maybe they'd be nice and say, you know what? The maximum anyone can make in this world should be $1 million. So we're going to take 149 of the 150 million you make, and you're left with $1 million, and that should be a wonderful life. That's the way liberals think. So they're not impressed by the fact he paid 25% percentage-wise, or the fact that he paid $38 million. It's just he made $150 million. He just didn't pay enough, and the percentage wasn't high enough. It's got to be 99%. It's got to be almost all of the $150 million. That's how liberals think. I know how a good guy thinks, Kevin Wall, because he's a great guy. He hosts 790 Talks Now, morning show, 9 a.m. to noon, or I'd say mid-morning show, 9 a.m. to noon, right after Glenn Beck. Talk That Rocks, 790 Talk Now. It's Kevin Wall, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon, live and local with Kevin Wall. And he's back here with a segment we call Building the Wall with Kevin Wall. Hey, Kev, $38 million is a lot of money, huh?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, I know it's only 2 pages out of what is probably, what would you guess, 1,000-page?
Yeah,
2,000
hundreds of
return?
certainly hundreds of pages. No question about that.
I mean, this is not like, a normal H&R Block, kind of tax return.
If Trump
amazed.
hired H&R Block, he'd need to hire the entire H&R Block, every single agent.
I just love it. But I'll tell you this. I love the idea that this just flies in the face of what Hillary said. Remember Hillary during the campaign said that, well, in 1998 he paid no federal income taxes, and all he was doing was using the tax law because he had huge $900 million losses. And you're entitled to take deductions, which are passed by Congress and signed by presidents. And everybody seems to make a big deal about this. Now in 2005, we find out he paid $138 million.
Actually, $38 million, not 130. Yeah, 38.
I'm sorry, $38 million on 150.
Yeah,
million.
Nobody.
I think it's great.
You're the first one besides me that I've heard actually defend that if Donald Trump had paid zero, he had a right to pay zero because he was carrying forward a $1 billion loss, $900 million and change loss. I want to explain this to people on a scale you can understand, the average person. Let's say you make $50,000 a year, and you suddenly have a $180,000 loss on some property, and the law allows you, and it should, to deduct the whole $180,000 over time until it's gone, and you only make $50,000, so it'll take 4 years for the $180,000 loss to be gone, and for you to start paying taxes again. Exactly what's wrong with that? If you lost 180 and now you made 50, did you make anything? No. You're still paying it against the loss. So I don't understand why it's a problem in the first place. Makes no sense to me.
Well, and the problem is that these people on the left, that first of all, they absolutely despise the notion of, God, I'm almost afraid to say it on public radio, profit. They hate the idea that people actually make profit for shareholders. They despise that. And they can't understand the notion that Congress has passed laws, presidents have signed the bills that essentially enumerate tax policy. A home ownership deduction. Is that a bad thing?
Church.
Most people would
How about
say,
charitable
I love it.
How about charitable to a church or a
There
synagogue?
you go.
What's wrong with that? How about to a mosque? If you're Muslim and you give your money to a mosque, should you have to pay taxes on money that you don't get because you gave it away? It's never made sense to me. If I donate $1,000 to my church or synagogue, why would I pay taxes on it? Can you imagine if they do away with the deduction? Now I pay the $1,000, I don't have the money, but I owe the taxes on it? That means someone gives me $1,000, I give it to the church, I'm negative $500. What? That makes no sense. I gave away the $1,000. How could I be forced to pay $500 in taxes on something that I don't possess? I gave it to you. And so that's what bothers me. When liberals have no common sense, no logic of any kind, nobody would ever give a donation to a church, a synagogue, or even a Muslim mosque ever again if you had to pay the taxes on the money you don't have because you gave it away.
Let me. Can I throw out one quick thing?
Yeah.
And only because it was something you talked about before the break, and I wanted to get back to it for just 1 second. And that was this notion of the right to health care. That I have, that people on the left say, Bernie Sanders and a whole bunch of folks like that have said, health care is a right. That you as an American citizen have a right to health care. They never say if it's free or subsidized or whatever, but forget that part. Dean Heller over the weekend held a closed-door constituent meeting.
Right by
Somebody
me.
was rolling,
Sun City Anthem, right by me.
Was it really? And apparently somebody caught it on audio tape and gave it to Politico. The audio was pretty awful, and I couldn't run it this morning. But one of the things that came up was the issue of health care as a right. And Dean Heller, our senator, had an opportunity to say absolutely, positively, no, it's not a right. But he didn't say that. Instead, he said everybody should have access to health care.
Well, I agree everyone should have access to pay for it. They just have to pay for it. Everyone should have access.
Well, but that's not what people mean.
Yeah, of course.
That's not what people are talking about.
Right.
People are saying, I have a right to free health care, and whether I can afford it or not. And that's the problem. But Dean Heller had a chance to say it is not a right. You know, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
Nowhere in the Bill of Rights do you see it. Nowhere in the Constitution do you see it. People sometimes talk about the general welfare clause as being where you might find that, but it's not enumerated at all. And people are trying to create this. I always say, do we also have a right to a luxury automobile? Do we have a right to a week's vacation at Disney World? I mean, is that going to become, families to truly bond, they need experiences like Disneyland.
Right. I'm with you.
Well,
look, I'm with you. And here's the thing. I don't know why you're surprised. It's very clear to me Dean Heller is horrible as far as, not as far as all politicians, as far as Republicans go. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm sure he's a wonderful father. Same thing I said about Brian Sandoval. I'm sure he's a wonderful father. I'm sure he's a wonderful husband. And I'm sure he's a nice person. Same thing I say about Brian Sandoval, our governor. But I also call him, in tomorrow's RJ column, the worst Republican governor in America. And I think Dean Heller is up there for the worst Republican senator in America. Nevada's got horrible Republican politicians. Horrible. On the scale from Heritage Foundation, they all get ratings of like 50 on a scale of 1 to 100, whereas people I respect, like Ted Cruz, get 100 on a scale of 1 to 100. Marco Rubio, who's known as a moderate, is always at 90 on a scale of 1 to 100 by the Heritage Foundation. And then and Cruz at 100 out of 100. And then you've got Dean Heller. Go look. I guarantee you Dean Heller's in the 50s. And I remember Joe Heck was in the 50s. They just don't vote the way they campaign, which means they're not terrible people, but they are liars. They are frauds because they don't tell you that when they run for office, Kevin. They campaign as true tax cutters and want smaller government and want less spending and less welfare and don't want Obamacare. And then when push comes to shove, they're not for any of that. That's called fraud. That's called bait and switch. That's called misrepresentation. That's called false advertising. It's deceptive advertising. It's all of the above. Brian Sandoval does it, Joe Heck did it, and Dean Heller does it. They're not conservatives, and they're not even good Republicans, because all good Republicans, by definition, are for lower taxes, less spending, smaller government, and against Obamacare. Those are the things I judge a Republican on. You can disagree on a lot of other things, but you can't disagree on those. And Dean Heller is not a conservative or Republican by those standards. Neither is Brian Sandoval. Neither was Joe Heck most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. Not on our side on the issues that matter, and certainly not as conservative on those issues that matter as anyone who voted for them expected them to be. So that's my problem. Hang with us for one more segment, Kevin. I want to get to the big issue we never got to is whether he will support Governor Sandoval IP1, the new motor voter bill. If you'll stay with us, you got time? All right. He's on hold. He's waiting. We're going to take a quick ad break. When we get back, it's Kevin Wall and I talking about something that's a disaster for Nevada. You're going to want to hear about it. It's a new motor voter law called IP1. It's on the desk of Brian Sandoval to either accept or veto. If he accepts it, then he is exactly what I've said, the most horrible Republican governor in America. He goes beyond the worst. I use the word horrible, terrible, nightmare, disaster, traitor, destructive to his own Republican Party everywhere in this country, but here in Nevada especially. What a disaster Brian Sandoval is if he goes along with motor voter. Be right back. All right, Wayne Allyn Roots, WAR Now. On with Kevin Wall, who is the 9 a.m. to noon host right here at 790 Talk Now in Vegas, 98.1 FM in Palm Springs. And Kevin, what do you think of Sandoval? I do not believe he's going to veto the IP1. I just don't believe it. I think he's going to go ahead and sign it. and this state is going to turn into California.
It's going to be no. Well, I tell you what, this is going to be the ultimate test. Now, the fact that he favored the ERA, the ratification of the ERA, tells me that he's leaning to the left. But we're going to know. This is going to be the first bill that's on his desk. It's got to be there. He's got to do something with it in 5 days. Once it gets to his desk, it'll be 5 days, and the clock will be ticking. We're going to find out if Governor Sandoval is going to be really have the back of hardworking Nevadans, or if he is going to side with the Democrats, who have the advantage in both the Assembly and the Senate, and if he's going to start, are we going to become a sanctuary state? Are we going to have motor voter, which is just going to encourage, voter fraud and a lack of voter integrity? This IP1 bill is very straightforward. It's going to expand the voter rolls, and it's not going to expand voting. This whole nonsense about it's going to get more people involved. No, it's going to be just like early voting. Everybody said, let's get early voting. Let's do it 3 weeks ahead of time, which to me is just another opportunity for voter fraud. But the fact is, they all said, oh, my God, it's going to increase participation. We found out nationwide it has not increased participation. And the same people that vote are going to vote. The same people that don't vote, even with expanded rolls, even if you don't know that you are being registered, and you're still not going to vote. This is one of those things. It's a needless exercise that makes liberals feel really good. But I'm going to tell you, Wayne, this is going to be what really tells us which way Governor Sandoval is going to go in his final term in office.
Right. Well,
we're
listen,
going to know.
I think you're only partially right, Kevin. I mean, I'd be happy if you were 100% right that this doesn't expand votes. Overall, it doesn't expand votes, but I think what it expands is illegal aliens from Mexico and other such countries, Central America, voting, because you don't ask if they're a citizen and you no longer ask if they want to vote. Just automatically, when you get a driver's license, they give you you're registered. You're done. You are a voter. So you don't think that's going to expand the illegals that are voting? That will expand the number of people that vote. And so I think it's a disaster waiting to happen. It's tailor-made for the Democratic Party to continue to register millions of illegals all over this country, and in this case, in the state of Nevada, and we lose elections like we did. Donald Trump lost by a measly 25,000 votes, and anybody who tells me that there weren't at least 100,000 illegal aliens voting in the election in Nevada, I have a bridge to sell you over the Hudson River. It's called the GW Bridge.
Hey, by the way, a quick note that we'll have more on this, I know, at the top of the hour, but my phone is blowing up because a Hawaiian judge has put forward a nationwide ban on the new Trump travel restrictions.
So you tell me, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal expert. How do you ever pass anything when the entire nation is filled with out-of-control, radical activist judges, liberal, ultra-liberal judges bordering on communist and Marxist? You're never going to be able to pass anything because we don't do that. Our judges go by the letter of the law, and if Obama does it right, they go, okay, I don't like it, I don't agree with it, but he went by the letter of the law. That's not what liberals do, so they're going to try and ruin his entire presidency by finding a judge in states like Hawaii and Illinois and Washington State and Washington, D.C., where there's nothing but out-of-control liberals to just deny everything we want, Kevin.
Exactly. I mean, this has been the way it has been. I mean, dating back to days in California where, the people of California would come together and vote, what was it, Prop 8, and all of a sudden a judge, I mean, even though it overwhelmingly won, something like 70% of the vote, and yet a judge said, nope, can't do it.
Scary. Kevin Wall, we got to go, buddy. Time for the news. Wayne Allyn Roots, War Now. Thank you, Kevin Wall. We'll be right back. Kevin Wall. All right, Wayne Allyn Roots. I'm going to, first of all, we're going to take calls in this hour. We'll take calls at 844-WAR-NOW-1, 844-WAR-NOW-1. Toll-free call, 844-927-6691. Do we have JD on the line? He is. All right. Hopefully he heard what I was requesting on the air. JD, you're on with WAR. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I just heard somewhere, some radio guy talk a while back, and he mentioned Trump time, and it really is Trump time. And I think it was you. But anyhow, yes, I did do some research. There is an Arabic word. You have a pencil and paper because
Dimitude, right? Dimitude?
Yeah. It's protect, Dhimmittude, protected religious exemption. 1311D is in dog. 4 is in helium of Obamacare, section 14029, parentheses 1, where there are religious exemptions also for the Amish, Mennonites, and Hutterites qualify because they don't participate in Social Security. There is no exemption for Christians or Jews, and there are also some other refugees that qualify, such as Cubans, Haitians, paroled people in the U.S. I don't understand that. People that are from another country on parole. Micronesia, Marshall Islands, Palau, and American Samoa. I could keep going on, but whoever wrote this crap must have been a college student or something. I don't know. It's crazy. What I wanted to get into is, and I'll give it to you in detailed report tomorrow, is the CNN headline: Trump is on the campaign trail. Was Obama on the campaign trail?
Hold on, we missed you. You went in and out. Trump's on the campaign trail, you said, right?
That's a CNN headline.
Yes.
No, he's not visiting cities talking about jobs up in Michigan. He's on the campaign trail after 55 days.
And by the way, to be fair, I have no problem with that headline as long as they were fair and said like Obama was for 8 long years. Obama did nothing but campaign for 8 years as president.
Yeah, but they're making it look like, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
Now, I loved Rachel Maddow, listening to her. Here are some of the quotes of other people talking about the $38 million, 25% taxes that he paid. One of them was from Charlie Rose. Most of his tax payments were from a tax he wants eliminated. Blaming Trump for the leak. And doesn't show his source of income. And then, of course, we have that beauty, Margaret Brennan, who, when the ambassador to Benghazi died, her reportage was ambassador of Libya passed away. It doesn't show how he earned the money. So they put all of these negatives into $38 million in taxes paid, which is more than Buffett, who was trying to get $10 million back, right? Probably, which is more than Gates paid. We know Al Sharpton didn't pay any taxes in 2005.
Well, and it's more than Obama. I mean, not dollar-wise, but percentage-wise. Trump paid 25%. Obama paid 18.7% last year. So it's a higher percentage than Mr. Fairness Barack Obama paid.
And I doubt if there's any deductions for underwear used, like Billy Bubba Clinton claimed on his tax return.
Well, look, almost everyone agrees, except ultra-liberals, that it made Rachel Maddow look like an idiot, that she should be embarrassed, she should feel humiliated. She made a big deal out of it without knowing. You know what she's like? She was like Geraldo Rivera, who said, I'm opening up the vault of Capone, and then he opened it and there was nothing there. You look like an idiot.
They all piled on, and Trump comes away from this looking like a winner. And then they had the audacity. One character, a New York Times reporter, that Trump put the tax return in the mailbox for to leak it himself. So I mean, I think it's a home run. And you missed when I said Trump time. You used that phrase, and you never used it again. I think it's a catchable phrase, and I think you should use it more. Trump time. And
all right.
One other thing, if I may,
JD, I got to cut you off because we have a guest who had to be on at 4:05,
right,
and I went to you first. So thank you. Call back. Jeff Crouere is our guest who had to be on. I know he's got some sort of meeting or something going on, and he's got to be out of here by the bottom of this half hour. So, Jeff, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, doing great.
Jeff Crouere is a columnist and an author of a new book, America's Last Chance. He's a former Trump delegate from Louisiana, state co-chair for the Louisiana Trump campaign. He's a radio talk show host. I've been on his show many times, and his topic is what the hell is the IRS commissioner still doing in office, right? You didn't quite say it like the way I'm saying it, but John Koskinen is a bum, and he should be impeached, and he should be kicked out of office. What is he doing in office?
Wayne, I think that is one of the big mysteries. And this guy is a disaster. I mean, just going over we had hundreds of conservative groups targeted, pro-Israeli groups, pro-constitutional groups, pro-voting rights groups, groups that were working for various conservative causes for Hispanics, and all these groups unfairly treated by the IRS. He testified before the House Oversight Committee back in 2014, and he told them that Lois Lerner's emails were archived and it would take a long time to retrieve them. Then, lo and behold, they found the information. Then we were going to impeach the guy in 2015, and they decided not to hold a vote against him. And then we come to this, where Donald Trump's tax return mysteriously appears in the mailbox of some unknown reporter, and a crime was committed. I mean, that's illegal,
Correct.
Wayne. I mean, it's absolutely illegal, and that's what the media is not talking about.
And Jeff,
This man's tax returns were illegally publicized, and that, to me, is the big story.
and easy to catch, I would assume. I mean, you'd have to be an idiot to tell me that you can't, in this high technology world, you know how easy it is to check who assessed at the IRS Donald Trump's tax returns for that specific year. Who was looking at 2005 in the entire IRS system of employees in the United States of America in the last 6 months? Who looked at Donald Trump's 2005 tax return and for what reason? And once you find the list is, 5, you narrow it down quickly. You interview each one, and you find out who the right one is, and you put them in prison. Make them all take lie detector tests. And whoever did it goes to prison because it was a crime. So are you going to tell me they can't figure out who did it?
And this is the second time his tax return has been illegally leaked to the media. Back in the campaign, he had a tax return from the 90s. It was leaked to the New York Times.
Jeff,
I think it was a 1995 return.
Compared to Donald Trump, Wayne Root is a nobody, and Wayne Root's tax return was leaked to liberals in the media. Do you realize that when I complained day and night about the fact that the IRS had tried to destroy me under Barack Obama, and that I fought them, and that we got my Judicial Watch took my case and demanded my files, and it was a 14-month battle. The IRS broke the law for 14 months and refused to hand over my files. When they finally turned them over, we found all kinds of proof that this was a political witch hunt, probably directed by the Democratic Party and Barack Obama from the White House. And I have that proof, and no one cared. But Mother Jones Magazine, the extreme left-wing magazine, decided to run a story on people complaining about the IRS going after them and how they're probably just tax cheats. And they printed my tax return from one of the years that I was audited by the IRS. Now, you explain to me, how is it possible that Mother Jones Magazine got it? How is it possible they were allowed to print it? It's my confidential tax return. They did it to me. And they made it like I was Donald Trump. Am I so important that you would print my tax return in a liberal magazine? Well, they did.
Well, and that's outrageous, Wayne, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. I mean, and they obviously they suffered nothing from that, did they? I mean,
No,
nothing ever happened to them.
And nothing ever happened to John Koskinen. He's still the IRS commissioner, despite admittedly committed fraud. Right? I mean, he lied to the U.S. Congress.
He should have been impeached back in 2015. And again, I don't know what's wrong with this Congress. They never seem to follow through on things that they promised to do. And he lied to them. He lied to them. For one, they illegally targeted conservative groups. No doubt about that. He lied to Congress. Now he's got an agency that's obviously out of control. And we have Donald Trump facing all these threats from within the government, Wayne. I mean, intelligence agencies, IRS. Who's loyal to the president? I worry about him on a daily basis dealing with this mammoth government that he's dealing with all these Obama people still in there.
When it was announced on Friday, and I've been talking about this since the day Trump was elected, that the entire government bureaucracy, all the government employees will be after Donald Trump, trying to destroy his presidency, because I know he probably wants to cut the size of government and therefore cut employees, even if it's only through attrition, and cut their salaries and cut their pensions a little bit, because they're taking outrageous salaries and obscene insane pensions. And I turned out to be right. And sure enough, the whole government's after him. Every government employee hates him. They're all out to ruin him. And then what comes out Friday? Donald Trump's new budget shows a tiny little cut in government employees, 1.8%, and little cuts in pensions and salaries for government employees he's looking for. And just for little tiny things like that around the edges, you see how they hate him and they want to destroy him. It's really out of control. It's a class of people, Jeff Crouere, called government bureaucrats who are completely out of control and think that they are a privileged class better than the rest of us. You can never fire them, and they don't think you can ever touch their salaries or pensions. Even if the country's $20 trillion in debt and going bankrupt, they think you can never touch theirs, ever.
But it is about time, though, that if they're committing crimes, they're not protected from that, Wayne. And they need to be rooted out and prosecuted. And those who are leaking information, those who are disclosing tax returns, they need to be discovered. So we need to have some investigation. So we need to get to the bottom of this.
Well,
and,
the question is whether Donald Trump
it's going to be up to the Congress.
Well, the question is, will Donald Trump? I mean, you can hire at any time. Donald Trump can call for the formation of a special prosecutor. I don't think you need Congress for that. Trump can ask for a special prosecutor. I was always shocked when he said, "I will not ask for a special prosecutor for Hillary Clinton. She needs to go to prison. She's a criminal. She needs to go to prison for what she did at the Clinton Foundation."
Wayne, I couldn't agree with you more. And he got a little soft on her, and I think he regrets that. And they need to revisit that issue. That needs to be revisited.
I think
because
these
nobody's
guys
going soft on Donald Trump. Wayne.
No, I
mean,
know.
They're going after him with everything they've got.
I think everyone in office, Jeff, forgets a simple thing, which is, they want to believe you, the liberal media brainwashes you, that you represent all the people. But you don't. What you really represent more than all the people. You represent all the people to some extent, but you are elected to take care of your people. When Democrats get in, do they represent Wayne Root or Jeff Crouere? Absolutely not. They couldn't care less if you think abortion is murder. They couldn't care less if you think your tax money shouldn't go to Planned Parenthood. They couldn't care less if I think my taxes are too high. They make them higher. They couldn't care less if I go bankrupt from their health insurance, from Obamacare and the health insurance increases, as long as their poor people that voted for them get free health care and free Obama phones and free contraception. They don't care about me. So why can't a Republican say my first duty? In general, I'm for the country, but my first duty is to the voters that voted for me, and they need to get rid of Obamacare. Government employees didn't vote for me. We need to fire them. Government employees who committed crimes, we need to put them in jail. They're not going to vote for you anyway. Why do you care about them? They're not your responsibility.
Why is he reaching out and doing deals with people like Paul Ryan, who this week we heard on tape saying he would do everything he can to hurt Donald Trump?
Well, because there's no choice. If you want it passed in Congress, you have to cut some deals. But that's not the same as saying let's not prosecute Hillary Clinton. You got to go after someone who sold America's uranium stock for $145 million donation to the Clinton Foundation. Come on.
Right.
All right. Hey, Jeff.
I think he's just surrounded with people that do not want to help him, and that's a real challenge. That's a real challenge.
Jeff, tell everyone the name of your book and where they can get it.
Thank you, Wayne. It's America's Last Chance. I would love people to check it out. It's at my website, which is my name, jeffcrouere.com, and it lays out what the new president needs to do to succeed. And I think it really is a great read. I've gotten great reviews, and I'd love for your listeners to check it out.
All right, Jeff Crouere. His book is America's Last Chance. Great guy and a buddy of mine. Jeff, thanks for coming on WAR Now.
All right. Thank you, Wayne.
All right, be good. When we get back, your calls, 844-WAR Now 1, 844-WAR Now 1, anywhere in the country, toll free. It's on us, 844-WAR Now 1. All right, we're taking your calls, 844-WAR Now 1, 844-WAR Now 1, toll free, anywhere in this country, otherwise known as 844-927-6691. I have stressed for the year and a month that I've hosted the show how difficult it is to run businesses. If only liberals had some idea, but of course they collect government checks, and they also work for other people, so they just collect a check every week, a safe check. Or they work for government, and they can never be fired. They don't know how tough it is out there. They have no idea how tough it is to run a business. But here's a great example. And it's an old friend of the conservative movement in this town, in this state, Bob Irwin. He's one of the top stories at the RJ right now. He walked into his office last week at the gun store and found that someone had packed his bags, catalogs, and other belongings into boxes. Just another sign that it's all over for him. The gun store, a Vegas retailer and shooting range, lets customers unload on targets with machine guns, semi-automatic rifles, shotguns, and other firearms. But the 73-year-old operator recently lost control of the business to a court-appointed receiver who's now trying to sell it. Irwin himself has now filed for bankruptcy. He gets calls from creditors every day. He even suffered a stroke recently, and as if to rub it in, someone hit the property with graffiti recently. And I guess his story is that he was the only game in town for a while, and everybody knew the name of the gun store, and he advertised at McCarran Airport. And then lots of other gun ranges opened up by the Strip. And he bought the store in 1988, it says. And the problem is that there's lots of competition now. In the article, it says the gun store used to be the only tourist-focused shooting range in town. See, he's aiming at tourists. And his ads were all over McCarran and on taxi cabs and on billboards, anywhere tourists were. But more options were on the way as 8 other machine gun ranges opened by the end of that year, 2012. And it was a disaster for him. He actually he admitted last week, competition has sliced the gun store's foot traffic in half. And he filed bankruptcy protection for the gun store in 2015. And his lender, Bank of America, filed court papers alleging his business appears to be consistently operating at a significant loss and cannot establish a reasonable likelihood of rehabilitation within a reasonable town. And the next day, they sued Irwin. Irwin, Meadows, and others in the Clark County District Court. Bank of America claimed its loans were unpaid or in default and that the gun store was insolvent or in imminent danger of it. And Irwin, this poor guy, who I'm sure was considered wealthy by most liberals, literally was quoted in the RJ as saying, I'm 72 years old and my financial life is over. My financial life is over. It's really, really difficult dealing with it all. He said in an interview, my financial life is over. From what I'm reading here, he declared personal bankruptcy as well as business. And I got to tell you something, that everyone I know, including me, is going through the same kind of thing with every business we've got because you can't make ends meet anymore. The taxes are too high. The legal bills are too high. The health care bills are too high. The electric bill because of climate change is too high. There's just no way to raise money for a business anymore. There's no way to run a business anymore at a profit. There's no way to pay all the taxes that are due. It's outrageous. The sales taxes, the property taxes, the income taxes, the personal income taxes in America, the IRS, in other words, not on a state level, because obviously Nevada has no personal income taxes, but the federal IRS taxes do, and the workman's comp, it's just all too much. And the minimum wage laws, they've made it so you can't successfully operate a business anymore and make a profit. Remember, when you work for someone, you work, 6 hours, 8 hours a day, you take a lunch break, long leisurely lunch break. You go home, you put your feet up, you watch TV for 4 hours, you go to sleep. Tomorrow you do it again. But when you own a business, you're working 16 hours a day and weekends. I don't get time off. I work 24 hours a day. Teachers get the summer off. Teachers are off at 3 o'clock every day. It's they have a job for life and a pension and health insurance paid for life. And someone like me, they get jealous and angry because I make a few $100,000 a year, but I don't have a life. I work 16 hours a day, and that's my choice because I like nice things in life, nice cars, nice homes. But guess what? I don't have a life. And I shouldn't be punished for that. If I make that choice, why would I have to pay massive taxes more than you do? Another thing that never made sense to me, that Republicans don't argue back. If you make $1 million, you should pay $100,000 in taxes. Versus someone who makes $100,000 that should pay 10, and someone who makes $10,000 that should pay 1. But guess what my math says? All 3 people pay the same percentage, right? If you should all pay 10% on what you make, maybe 15 at the most, but it should be the same percentage for everyone. That means to be fair, quote unquote. Liberals love that word fair. If you're fair, everyone's paying more based on what they make. So if you make $10,000, you pay $1,000 in taxes. If you make $100,000, you pay 10 times more, $10,000. And if you make $1 million, you pay 10 times more, $100,000 in taxes instead of 10. That's not fair. But no, liberals say it's more than that. You have to pay a higher percentage. So the richer you are, it should be 40%, 49%. In California, 65% federal, state, and local. New York City, 65% of what you make goes to the government. That's insanity when you realize what a business owner has to put up with, like Bob Irwin, who worked his whole life, bought a store in 1988. You do the math. To 98 to 2008, it's almost 2018. So he's owned his store for just about 30 years. And yet, in the end, they take everything away from you if you finally go out. All the money you made was for nothing. And why do you go out? Nobody ever says this on the left. No one will ever think about it or admit it. If Bob Irwin could get back half the money he paid in taxes for 30 years, he'd save himself and there'd be no bankruptcy. If you could get your money back. But the government doesn't ever give it back to you. They steal it from you, and then you never get it back. And when you need it, it's not there. Nobody ever talks about this. I'm sorry, Bob Irwin. I will say a prayer for you tonight before you go to bed, but I know the struggle. And right now, everyone I know is in trouble. Everyone I know is struggling, including me. But I'm vital and high energy, and my radio show's booming, and I'm 55 years old. But if I was 73 on the tail end of life, maybe I couldn't make it either. You don't have enough energy left at 73 to fight these battles with the IRS and the taxes in property and sales tax and every single item, I'm sure, that you buy for your store, massive taxes, all the guns, massive taxes. Everything is about the money you keep, not the money you make. And the government takes too damn much. It's hard to overcome. It's very hard to run a business. We work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and no one on the left appreciates it. As a matter of fact, they hate us for it. They're jealous, and they want to punish us. Shame on you. Shame on you, all of you on the left. Go to hell. You know what you are? You're losers. That's what you are. Bob Irwin's a hero. You're losers. Because you know what makes a winner? Someone who got in the game in the first place. It's not always how you end, but if you pay taxes for 30 years, Bob Irwin's a hero. You never got in the game. You never raised money. You never took money out of your bank account. You never took money out of your mattress or your closet or your safe or your safety deposit box. You didn't do it. You didn't take the chance. You're not a riverboat gambler. You're not a gunslinger. You're not a hero like Bob Irwin and Wayne Root and Donald Trump. So you just sit back and you criticize when you've never done anything and never created a job and never paid any reasonable amount of taxes because you don't make any money in the first place. And you take with your welfare checks and your food stamp checks and your free Obama phones and your free contraception and your free education and your free meals at school and your free Medicare and Medicaid and everything else that you want free. And you know what? You even claim, and I always say, Social Security and Medicare, not Medicaid, but Medicare are not welfare programs because you paid in, so you deserve to get out. But not liberals. See, I paid in. My listeners paid in. But you know what? Your typical liberal, no, you didn't pay in. You're going to get back 5 times more than you paid in, Social Security and Medicare. So you didn't really pay in. You deserve to get back 1/5, but not all 5/5. Because you paid in $100,000 and you're going to take out $500,000. So it is welfare the last $400,000 of the $500,000. I'm sorry, that's the reality. You didn't pay enough in. But all of us who make high incomes, we did pay enough in. We're paying for me and you and 20 other people so that you could take out long past the point where it equals the amount you put in. All you do is complain. You know what? No statue's ever been built for a critic, and there's a good reason. The people that do things in life, that take action, are the heroes of the business world and the financial world. And we pay the taxes for your welfare, for your food stamps, for your Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security and education and everything else you want free. We do it. We're the heroes. Then in the end, you get left like Bob Irwin. How sad is that? A hero thrown out to dry, left to die, thrown out to pasture. Wow. Thanks a lot. You know what Bob probably paid in taxes in the last 30 years? I'll bet you he paid $30 million in personal income taxes, sales taxes, and property taxes combined. And this is the thanks he gets. a true American hero, gets screwed over once again by the government and liberals and the courts and lawyers and some bankruptcy judge that's a loser who collects $150 a year from the government and never in his life risked a penny, doesn't know what it's like to run a business, and gets appointed as a receiver. Yeah, you're a real winner. You need to honor people like Bob Irwin. I'm Wayne Allyn. I am a warrior. I like the Bob Irwins of the world. I dedicate this show to the Bob Irwins of the world. Bob, we're praying for you, and we're fighting for you. Wayne Allyn, War Now. All right, Wayne Allyn, War Now. You know, I went on that rant a few moments ago, some would say an epic rant, about how tough it is to make it in business. And sitting in studio watching the show is Dane Sensor, who is one of the great Trump fans and a great street campaigner, calls himself the 5-star Marine campaigner for Donald Trump. And Dane talked about his family's business met with the same exact kind of end as Bob Irwin. So it really resonated with him, and I just wanted him to quickly just extrapolate a little bit on what happened to your family business.
We had a beautiful bed and breakfast. It was called the Secret Garden Mansion, and it was up in Walnut Creek, California. Of course, California, where it's the hardest place in the world to run a business, small business. Anyway, it was a family business. Our entire family had money in the business. My parents, everybody. And we ran this business for about 6 years, and a lawyer moved in next door to us. And, and we struggled with the city getting things passed. Just a little thing. Add one room. It cost $30,000 to go through the city process.
And was the lawyer part of the problem? He was trying to stop you every step of the way?
We were there 8 years, and he moved in next door to us because it was in an overlay zone. We had to go for an overlay zone, which took a lot of time. They said it would take, the city would say, it'd take 3 months and about $30,000. A year and a half later, and $150,000.
Right.
That was just with the city. Then you got to deal with this lawyer that moves in next to you, who happens to be a real estate lawyer. He basically took us down. He put the icing on the cake to put the nail in our coffin to finish us off. Just no reason. He was a real estate lawyer. He started suing us. And it's just such a struggle. People have no idea what it is to run. We worked there 24/7. Every one of us had our life savings in that place. We lost it all. And it was tragic because it was a beautiful place. It made national, international awards. And people couldn't believe that we lost this place, but we did. And it's a struggle.
Beautiful place, by the way, Walnut Creek, California. I know it well. It's just gorgeous country. But I don't know how anybody makes a living in California. And my big argument, I'll be writing a column about this in the RJ soon. Here you have California filled with, 40 million people? Something like 40 million people.
Yeah.
And so it leads the nation in welfare. It leads the nation in food stamps. It leads the nation in every bad category. But I guarantee you it also leads the nation in business owners. And every one of them is a jewel, a natural resource, a hero. And we could recruit many of them to come to Nevada. I don't want welfare recipients to move to Nevada. I don't want average people only to move to Nevada. I'll take some of them. But I don't want bad people. I want good people. I want business owners. Where is the ad campaign on TV in California saying, my name's Wayne Root, and when you're paying 13% in Nevada, in California, here we pay 0. We don't rip you off. Come to Nevada. Come to Las Vegas. Where's that ad campaign? There is none.
There should be. Someone needs to get one campaign. And the thing is, they're flocking out of California because for small businesses for what they're doing to them. California is the least favorite small business friend in the world. They are the worst out of 50 states. They are the worst.
That's not Dane saying that it's his opinion, even though it is. That's backed up by facts.
It's the truth.
There's several business publications that rank 50 states, and California's number 50 every single year for business-friendly environment. 50th out of 50 states. No entrepreneur wants to locate in California, and those who are there are dying to run away. You can't run a business when all your money goes to taxes, workers' compensation, and lawsuits. And that's what it's like doing business in California. I left 15 years ago because of that. I can't even imagine how much worse it must be today.
And every year they pass about 300 new laws on small businesses down our throats, which we can't even handle the ones they got on us now. So it's horrendous.
All right, last thing I wanted to mention was Dane at one point was in major financial trouble, and I'm not saying you're not anymore because I know you're still struggling and worried, but you're working 3 jobs. How old are you, Dane?
64 years old.
64 years old, and you're working 3 jobs at the same time to keep your head above water.
Yeah, I was hanging on last week before by a thread. I'm hanging on by maybe a rope now, but at least I'm hanging on.
And this is what's
struggle.
going on.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, very, very difficult. And I'm not the only one out there. There's many of us out there.
Many of us listening right now. And whoever feels bad on the left for a white male who's struggling, they claim we have white privilege. So what kind of privilege took away your family's business and leaves you working 3 jobs to just barely keep your head above water, scared every day if you lose one of the 3, let alone 2 or all of the 3, what might happen? You could wind up homeless easily, just like my friend Mark Durham, who wound up homeless in Phoenix, and we raised him $5,000 on his GoFundMe page just to get his car back so he could get to work and maybe get a semblance of his life back together. This is the reality of life today after 8 years of Barack Obama. And let me be fair, after 30 years, Republican or Democrat in power, of everyone in government destroying the middle class, everyone. Taxes and regulations and government-run everything has brought the middle class to their knees. Do you agree life's harder now than it's ever been in your life?
Ever been. It's the toughest for everything. And I'll tell you something, these politicians, most of them, they haven't run a lemonade stand, so they don't know what they're talking about when they put the laws on us that they don't do. And that's why Trump is so great, because he is a businessman. He understands business. And that's what's so great, because he has an understanding for people like myself and you and other people who actually have to earn a living and go out there and beat the pavement and fight the government to stay alive. It's insane.
I do think Donald made a mistake. The ultimate Wayne Root, Donald Trump fan, Wayne Root. I mean, everywhere in the media they describe me as the guy who loves Donald Trump, but he made a big mistake. And the mistake was the economy's dying, and the first thing he had to do was to resurrect the economy and go after jobs and lower taxes. Don't get bogged down with Obamacare first when you knew it would take this much time. I don't mind Obamacare first. It's a nightmare, but I didn't know it would take this much time. It's eaten up the entire beginning of his administration.
Nonstop.
Well, it will and continue to. So put it on the side for a little while and let it collapse. And then let Democrats come and beg us for help and go after taxes and regulations and creation of jobs. Make those the number 1 priorities, and then go back to Obamacare after you've done that. That's the only thing I could say right now.
You won't need a job because you'll be dead from trying to get a job.
Well, but my argument was Obamacare is the ultimate job killer, and it is. But I didn't realize how much time it would take to undo Obamacare. This is going to be a 3-year job. So therefore, go after jobs first and make the economy well again, and then tackle Obamacare if it's going to take this much time. If you can't do what Obama did and just undo it by executive order, then it's going to take time. And if it's going to take time, then you better not make it the number 1 priority. Make it the number 3 priority. Get the economy going again, because we are in trouble. Now, last thing I'll say before we go to ad break. Do you think Wayne Root makes this stuff up? I told you last week, the Atlanta Fed, which is always right, in how bad things are, they announced that first quarter GDP was going to be 1.3%. Horrible. Do you know today the Atlanta Fed came out and changed the number and said it's more like 0.9%. We have come to a complete dead stop in the economy, and the Atlanta Federal Reserve knows it, and most Americans don't see this in the headlines. They won't report it on the news tonight. They're complete frauds. The economy is in quicksand. It's going backwards. And Donald Trump, you've got to save us.
And one of the greatest things, Wayne, I say this with all sincerity, thank God you are going national so you can get the word out there more to people, because you are really so right on so many things. And I'm glad you're going national, because a lot of people have to hear you and tell them, because they need to hear it and listen and do something. Because
they need the truth.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was elected because he told the truth. It was kind of negative. It was kind of depressing, but he admitted the truth. Do you rather elect Hillary Clinton who said, everything's great, we're in recovery, it's okay? Obama saved us. He turned around the economy. Really? Then why is Dane working 3 jobs to stay alive? Why is Mark Durham raising money on GoFundMe because he's homeless living in a park? Middle-class, bright men who have done everything right their whole lives, and their lives are falling apart because of liberal philosophy, taxes, regulations, climate change, Obamacare, IRS audits, and lawsuits. Lawyers, lawyers, lawyers. You know what the difference between a lawyer and a liar is? spelling.
Yeah, you got
That's
that
it.
right.
Wayne Alaroot, War Now. We shall return. Thank you, Dane Sensor.
Thank
You're a
you, Wayne.
hero. You're a hero. To all my heroes out there, God bless you. The people who work and pay the taxes and don't complain and accept welfare and food stamps. God bless you. Wayne Alaroot, War Now. All right, Wayne Alaroot, War Now. Well, we've got lots of callers on the line, and we want you to continue to call in. I'll be taking almost all calls in the last hour, 844 War Now 1. We do expect Jarrett Weiss to arrive for Weiss's Wisdom, but he's late, and therefore we'll get your callers at the top of the hour, 844 War Now 1. Let's take Dan, who knows Bob Irwin, has some comments. Hey, Dan, how are you?
Very good, Wayne. Good show today. I really appreciate it. And I hate to see Bob going out of business because he was a true businessman and really had great knowledge about the laws and the guns and everything else. And that's a shame he has to go out. But it's unfortunate. That's the way sometimes the government is. They're unmerciful. Take a man's livelihood like that.
Yeah, very sad. And it's amazing because guns are such a popular item for the last 8 years under
it is,
Obama,
yeah.
but he was going after tourist business, and 8 other stores opened up, all doing the exact same thing. That's the brutal competition out there, Dan,
Right, I know. That's true. So I hope he can get out of this thing, but you never know if he has to file for bankruptcy or whatever. It's going to take time, but maybe he can do a chapter 13 or whatever revision, chapter 11, something like that will let him stay in business. He's a good man, he really is. But anyway, Wayne, I was kind of wanted to mention this to you. All this talk about impeaching Trump, maybe they should look at former President Obama's track record on violation of the Constitution. There's a website called Truth Seeker, two words, TruthSeeker. It's all has all the list of Obama's constitutional violations, a laundry list of them, not just one. He did a lot of violations by his executive orders, and about the Dream Act and also the Fast and Furious. He did a lot of things. Executive orders. One of them was the Executive Order of 13603, in reference to the government can seize anything.
Dan, we're with you, baby. We got to go to a news break, but believe me, I know the list. I could almost quote a chapter and verse of the violations of the Constitution of President Barack Obama. I got some big news about that coming up on the top of the hour. I'm staring at it. It is huge news. Obama violated your constitutional rights. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. Time for the news. Wayne Alaroot, War Now. Alaroot, War Now. Alaroot. His customers are that same silent majority. His customers are the same Nevada customers as mine. He's failed them badly. Our GOP governor couldn't care less what his own customers think. In the business world, no CEO could afford to ignore the will of his own customers. He'd quickly go out of business. As a lifelong Republican, how is it possible that I disagree with almost everything our GOP governor does and says? My radio listeners do too. Our governor should be sued for malpractice and false advertising. Sandoval has earned the title of worst Republican governor in America. Now, there's room in the GOP tent for slight variation of views on many issues, but there are 5 bedrock principles that define Republican, bind us together, and can never be violated. If you don't believe in these 5, I'm sorry, you're not a Republican. Number 1, the taxes are too damn high. Taxes should be cut, not increased. My goal is to always give more money back to the people who earned it. Number 2, spending by government is always too high. I'm always for cutting spending and making government smaller. Number 3, regulations hinder the creation of business and jobs. I'm always for making it easier for entrepreneurs and small businessmen and women to start and run their businesses. Regulations should be cut, not increased. Number 4, we need to lower welfare and entitlement spending, and everyone who collects any form of welfare must work, period, or it's an insult to working men and women. Number 5, I'm against Obamacare or any other form of government-run or government-intrusive health care Government fails at everything it does, everything it touches. It spends irresponsibly. It's incompetent. It's wasteful. How can giving government more control of health care possibly make it better? Our GOP governor fails at every one of these measures of what a Republican must stand for. There's room for debate on many issues. There is no room for debate on reducing taxes, reducing spending, reducing the size of government, reducing regulations, reducing entitlements, and repealing Obamacare. If you don't agree on those 5 principles, you need to change your party affiliation to Democrat. Our GOP governor dramatically raised taxes, spending, entitlement spending, the size and scope of government, and was the first Republican governor in America to embrace the expansion of Obamacare. Today, it's clear he's unhappy and concerned about the potential repeal of Obamacare. What? Our GOP governor is one hell of a Democrat. With friends like him, who needs enemies? Governor Sandoval did one thing right. One. Yet he managed to even screw that up. He helped pass the best school choice bill in America. Then he had a chance to ram it through permanently in the special session, but he was so concerned with ramming through another gigantic tax increase to pay for a football stadium, he ignored the one chance he had to pass his own school choice bill. And now, with radical, ultra-liberal Democrats in charge of both houses, school choice is in deep trouble. If it does pass, it will be a poorly funded shell of its former self. So the real question is, was the governor ever really for it? So I give him a grade of F for every category above and a D on school choice. Quite a record, Brian Sandoval. That's why you are the worst Republican governor in America. And in my next column, I'll tell you what the next GOP governor of Nevada must stand for. Wayne Allyn Root. My column in the RJ, the Las Vegas Review-Journal, tomorrow, Thursday. You'll see it also online. It'll be at the RJ tonight. Usually comes out around 9, 10 o'clock at night. The RJ puts it out the night before on the internet. All right, we've had Gary waiting very patiently on the line. And as my grandfather said, the customer is always right. And Gary's waited patiently. So, Gary, you're up, baby. What you batting?
Well,
what you batting? 1,000?
I don't know if I'm. Hey, Wayne, I don't know if I'm right because like a lot of times you guys are smarter than me and straighten me out. But I always have a new idea. Like you said a day or two ago that the daggers were out, and so far President Trump survived the Ides of March. Today he's doing okay. Although I heard Senator McCain was confused and showed up with one of these fake newspapers to hit him with. But what I really call this idea, how we could save a lot of money with all this controversy and stuff. If the guy who's in the Health and Human Services, I don't know if he has the power and stuff to declare liberalism a mental disorder and let all those poor people apply for Social Security disability, then if they're poor and they don't work and they got liberalism disease, if they go to treatment, then they'll get Medicare and Medicaid, and it's like all the people who voted for Hillary, we can forget about all that. Well, taking care of them, the ones that are griping the most.
Well, I'm not understanding. I got to understand your logic. It was very funny what you said, and I like that. Liberalism is declared a mental illness. Then we can include them as part of Obamacare, and then they all go on government aid. But exactly how does that help the nation? That's what I don't understand about your recommendation, Gary.
Well, that's why I said I'm not always right, but
there we go.
New.
At least Gary admits he's not always right. My grandfather said the customer is always right. If he's wrong, refer back to number one. So I guess you're right.
I'm trying.
But
I try.
I know you try, but if all the people who call themselves liberal get on welfare, America would go bankrupt. Oh, I forgot. They already are on welfare, and America is bankrupt. I guess I forgot that. I guess you're right.
Because Kevin was talking about cutting a check and all this stuff, and I'm not a college-educated guy, but I did do work this morning that Mexicans won't do. For 2.5 hours and made $25, picking up broken glass, weeding, picking up litter for the shopping center down the street. Even the Mexicans won't do that without a blower and, a whole group and a crew. So I did work and earn a few bucks today, and I'll let you get to other more intelligent, reasonable people, but I do try.
All right, Gary, you do try. We call him Deplorable Gary. I do want to mention something real quick. This headline is on CNN Politics. House Intelligence Committee seeks the names of Obama officials who were picked up on tape requesting the unmasking of Americans picked up on NSA surveillance. Remember when they said, oh, they're recording everything, but they don't know who you are. They don't know your name. They just grab billions of phone calls a day, but they can never tell who you are, really? The leaders of the House Intel Committee asked 3 leaders of the intelligence community Wednesday about any time during the last 7 months of the Obama administration whenever any of its agents and officials improperly named or unmasked and disseminated the identities of American citizens picked up an intelligence collection. Adam Schiff, a Democrat, and Kevin Nunes, a Republican, both of California, wrote they were concerned that members of the intelligence community have not been sufficiently honoring previously established minimization procedures. That's the way government officials and lawyers talk. Minimization procedures to protect the identities of U.S. citizens, including masking their names. So it turns out they're not masking your name. They know exactly who's saying what they're saying. When they find something they don't like, they go in and they find you. And then you could wind up going to jail. They're listening to every conversation, and they're going to unmask who you are. It's past the point where you can lie to us about any of this stuff. It's ridiculous. We've got Brad on line 2. Brad, you're on with Wayne on the Root. War Now. How are you?
Hey, Wayne. Thanks for taking the call. Hey, really enjoy your show. I've been listening to you since you came on, and really loved it when you leading up the presidential election and even signed up for KIPP service. So thank you. I just want to say that.
Great.
And
Thank you.
Wayne, I'm moving to Reno next week, and you're not up here yet, and I'm kind of upset with that. So I'd like for you to please tell the audience, since I'll also be covering some remote cities in Nevada, what are the plans for Reno and some of the smaller remote cities in terms of getting you live on the air?
All right. Well, funny you should say that because I am going into national syndication, and Reno is one of our very first targets, and many small cities up and down Nevada could very well be the first stations that get me because many of them are owned by the syndicator that's taking me national. So we should be in many other Nevada cities soon, and Reno as soon as we can arrange it. Believe me, we're working on it as we speak. Thank you, Brad, for the call and for the nice words. And by the way, I got an email today. I should have read it. I read it at home. You know, the ones I read on the air are usually the ones I get while I'm on the air, and in the ad break, I read them. And it was earlier today I got it, and it was a young lady, and she said that when things were at their absolute darkest and no one believed Trump would win, lots and lots of people got through because of me. They survived it, and they kept positive, and they felt he might win, and they kept their hopes up because of Wayne Root on the air, and she just wanted to thank me for thousands of people who feel the same way, and I just appreciate that email. I don't have it in front of me now, and it'd be very hard to go back and find it, but it's a wonderful thing when people say things like that, and I hope I had a part in keeping all of you pumped up and excited as well. Take one more call. We've got Renee on line 3. Renee, you're on with WAR. How are you?
Hi. Hey, listen, Wayne, there is a bill on this Friday from the state legislators, and I have a link that I want everybody who lives in Nevada to book to go on and do this. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called SB 174. They want to rename McCarran International Airport to Harry Reid International
We
Airport.
talked about it yesterday. How disgusting is that? I'm with you, Renee. I'd want to vomit every time I go to the airport. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Very, very sick
There's a
stuff.
link that I could give you this link. Everybody could write it down, and all you have to do is tell your legislators you don't want this.
Right, and it's a good idea. And make sure that Charlie, my board op, knows that link, and I'll give it out on the show unless you have. Yeah, do that.
I have it right now. If
Okay,
you want
go ahead. Shoot.
leg.state.nv.us/app/79th2017/A.
Now, this is the problem with radio, okay? Something like that has to be put up on the internet, Renee, because no one's ever. They're all in their car and they can't write all that down.
That's
They
true.
can't remember it. That's the problem with radio.
Okay.
Is you can't give things like that out. You got to give them out on the internet. So just give it to Charlie, and I'll see if I can send it out to all of my my email list. Okay, or I'll put it up at Facebook. Okay.
Okay. The other thing is, again, I want to discuss with you about Rick Workman coming.
Yes.
Did you make plans?
Yes, Rick Workman is going to come on my show, I believe, next week. That's up to Andrew. Andrew's my booker. He's the one who's got to set it up with Rick.
Okay, but the thing is, early voting starts March 18.
Yeah. It's all, listen, Rick asked me, and I said yes, and I told him to call Andrew. I told him to call Andrew,
'cause
so
we
hopefully
want to find out
they'll arrange
about
it.
this Agenda 21 at Inspirata. That's very important.
All right, I'll make sure I get Rick Workman on the phone. If you don't know what Renee's talking about, Rick is running for mayor of Henderson. He's the only real Republican in the race who has a chance to win. He's running against Deborah Marsh, who constantly deceives voters and makes them think that she's a Republican. You read her literature, it sounds like a Republican. She is, in fact, a registered Democrat. She is a tax raiser, not a tax cutter. She is someone who will, everyone tells me, I'll say allegedly because I can't witness it, but they tell me that she is a proponent of bringing in low-income housing to Henderson. And if that is true, that is a horrendous thing that would ruin our community and our property values. And Rick, I could say for sure, is against that. We cannot allow low-cost housing to be built in Henderson to ruin all of our property values. So Rick Workman is the only choice for mayor of Henderson, the only choice for anyone listening. Rick Workman. Do not be deceived by Deborah Marsh and the lies and fraud that these candidates tell you. They try and act like they're conservative, just like our governor, Brian Sandoval, the worst Republican governor in America, acted like he was a conservative. Dean Heller acts like a conservative with a lousy voting record. Joe Heck had a lousy voting record, although I think he's still better than most of them. But not a great record. Not a conservative record, a moderate Democrat record. And it drives me crazy. If you're going to campaign as a conservative, then you have to act like one once you get in office. Deborah Marsh is a Democrat. That's a fact. It's a nonpartisan race. She won't put it on her literature. She is a Democrat. She's not going to hold your taxes down. She's not going to keep government employee salaries down. She's not going to stop low-income residents from moving into Henderson, a wonderful, wonderful bedroom community. We got to keep it that way. Got to keep it clean. Got to keep it safe. Got to keep taxes low. Got to keep criminals out of the community. Rick Workman's the only one that will do that. Renee, thank you for the call. Wayne Alaroot, WAR Now. All right, Wayne Alaroot, WAR Now. Here's that email. I found it. I actually went back and found it in my records. It's from a fan of the show, a listener and fan named Melissa. Hi, Wayne. My name's Melissa. I love your show! ! You were a shining beacon of light for me during the election. I was a Trump supporter the day he announced, and the only time in my 43 years alive that I helped on a campaign and actually gave contributions to a candidate was Trump. I had faith, and you made me feel validated every time you talked about Trump. So many ignorant people put him down and refused to see his success, and you put it into perspective every day, and I thank you. I work at McCarran, and I would throw up every day if I had to go there if it was Harry Reid International Airport. Finally, so many talk shows interrupt callers, and I notice you do not. That is commendable and much appreciated. Manners are free, and most people don't bother to pick them up. You have them in spades. Keep up the amazing job you're doing. Respectfully, Melissa. Nice letter. Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate it. Appreciate the fact that you see that I'm very nice to my callers and try to always show a modicum of respect for them. And speaking of modicum of respect, I have great respect for a fellow entrepreneur who is in the business wars like I am every day, tilting at windmills and putting his money up at risk and fighting all the terrible tsunamis and giant killer waves out there called Democrats and government and taxes and regulations. His name is Jared Weiss, a segment we call Weiss's Wisdom. And we speak to Jared usually once a week or whenever he can make it here in his business schedule. It's kind of hard to come in every week, but most weeks, Jared is here to talk and give some common sense response and reactions to what's in the news, what's going on. So welcome to the show, Jared Weiss.
Hey, Wayne, how's it going?
So first of all, I read a story from the RJ, today's RJ, to all the listeners of the show about an hour ago. You were not here. About Bob Irwin, who 30 years ago or so, it was actually 29 and a half years ago, bought a gun store called The Gun Store in Las Vegas. And now he's 72 years old, and he's had to declare bankruptcy for the store. And the judge assigned, one of those guys that takes over your store and watches over it, a trustee of some kind, bankruptcy trustee. And that trustee is selling it out from under him, packed up his boxes, packed up his bags, told him to get lost. Bob is declaring personal bankruptcy, and he said to the newspaper today, my financial life is over. 72 years old, had a stroke last week. You know why.
Yeah,
obviously. Sure. Stress causes that, and depression causes that. And this, when you think about over 30 years, and who knows what he did before that. Before that, 30 years ago, he was 42. So maybe he had spent 30 years making a lot of money in 50 other businesses.
Right.
But certainly in the last 30 years, how much money did his business throw off to the economy in Nevada and in this country? How many millions did he pay in income taxes and sales taxes and property taxes and who knows what else? How many people did he employ? How many good people in the last 30 years had their kids go to college because of Bob Irwin, because they worked for him and his salary paid their kids going to college, paid for them to go out to dinner, paid for them to go to the movies, paid for their mortgage. And this is the sad end, the way they treat you, the competition we face, the taxes we face, the government regulations we face. I think entrepreneurs are heroes. Small businessmen and women are heroes. And I just think it's disgusting that you have to go out that way, that nobody cares. A stroke, his financial life's over, declaring bankruptcy. They're going to take everything away from him after a lifetime of hard work. And nobody on the left recognizes what heroes these people are.
Yeah, it's a sad story. I didn't know about that. I didn't hear about that coming in. But, it's not easy out there. The regulations are getting tougher. The taxes are getting higher. And it's very challenging for a small business owner out there. And after working his whole life and, like you said, paying taxes and helping people out, having good employees, and to be in this situation, it's terrible.
I don't know where you get the money. I just don't know. I mean, I got a family of 4 kids and a family of 6, and I got to tell you that no matter how much money you make, it's never enough. And then, all you need is one, forget about an emergency like cancer, forget about a horrible car accident. All you need is go to the dentist and find out that there's a $5,000 bill to take one tooth out. Nobody could afford that. You look in the newspaper and you see poll after poll that the average American doesn't have $500 in an emergency. So where would you get $5,000 to extract one tooth from your mouth? It's tough out there, and it's getting tougher. The competition and the taxes and the regulations are just, and the Obamacare is just a nightmare. So that brings me to the Obamacare question for my brilliant common sense businessman friend Jared, who's made millions of dollars as a real estate brilliant investor, multiple occasions in his career here in Las Vegas. And Obamacare, how do you solve that riddle when nobody in Congress, they're all afraid. Nobody wants to step up and say, you know what? Maybe some people will lose their Obamacare, but 100 million plus middle-class people are being destroyed by Obamacare. Isn't that important too? Don't you want to save them instead of worrying about 20 million poor people who don't really even have something because you gave them a health insurance policy with a $7,000 deductible so they can't even use it and there's no doctor that will see them? So to save them, you're willing to throw away 100 million middle-class people? Why is no one speaking up on behalf of those middle-class Americans?
Well, that philosophy goes right in line with making all the rights for the transgenders. What percentage are they out there that you're switching up all the bathrooms?
And how many businessmen could afford to spend $30,000 to build a third bathroom that says he, she, and then one says he, she? I mean, seriously, who's got $30,000 extra for a bathroom and say he, she? Maybe you could just take the two, put the two words together, and they're both he and she. It's he, she, okay? Leave us alone.
Yeah, as far as Obamacare, I've never heard anyone on the left say they liked Obamacare. I have friends that are staunch liberals, family members, that their premiums all went up. They don't.
They admit it sucks.
Oh yeah, they admit it's.
But
horrible,
they don't want to get rid of it.
But they'll just say it's better than nothing. But it's absolutely horrible. But I think the first course of action is the Republicans. They got to rally the wagons and they got to get everybody behind each other and solidify the base within Congress, Senate, and President Trump. And they got to be all in together because there's, the Democrats are all together.
Right.
I mean, they're for lawlessness and they're everywhere, but at least they're together for everything.
But isn't it funny when Obama was president for 8 years, every time I would say no to his communist ideas, what would Democrats say? Oh, you're just the party of no. And now Trump is president and all Democrats do is say no to every single thing Trump wants. Aren't they the party of no? How come it's okay now to be the party of no? Wasn't okay before to be the party of no. Now it's okay.
But if ever the Republicans needed to be in solidarity and lockstep.
But they're not.
But they listen, you know what they should do? Trump should call for everybody to have a retreat. Just a spiritual retreat. No talking about Congress, no talking about laws, legislation. Bring in these team-building exercise, go for a weekend, and seriously just try to get together.
Go rappelling through the mountains.
Seriously, go away for the weekend. Get everybody on board. Because at this point, if he can't get the Republican Party on board, specifically in Congress, he's going to continue to struggle here.
See, I'm what you'd call a reasonable conservative. I'm as conservative as they get. I believe that Obamacare should be completely repealed. I believe that probably the right way to do it now is to just let it die. Just let it die. It's dying. Get it all blamed on Obama. But if Donald Trump said to me, Wayne, Paul Ryan says he'll get it all passed if you let him do it piecemeal. The first one will not have everything you want, but you got to pass it. It's reconciliation. 51 votes is all we need. He couldn't put all the good things in because you need all the 50. I do it for the team. I'd vote for it. But other conservatives are saying they're out. They're not voting for it. It's no good. It's Obamacare light. They won't vote for it. I agree with you. I would band together and do it for the team because I would have to believe that the 3 or 4 bills they proposed, that all of them together eventually will be far better than what we've got now.
Right.
But other conservatives are saying, no, the first bill's horrible. We won't vote for it.
See, why you can't let Obamacare just destroy it and then after go see Democrats, see what happened with Obamacare, see what he did. They're so far out there. Everybody could go with no health care because of Obamacare, and they still wouldn't blame Obama, and they would still point at the Republicans. So you have to do what you have to do regardless.
Well, look, businessmen are sinking, and so if you let it just die, businessmen would sink because they can't pay the bills.
Right.
And they can't pay the taxes of Obamacare. And so you need to do a fix now so that they could survive. But, the first one, by the way, are you aware of the details of the first one? It repeals all the Obamacare taxes. Yay! Next year. They all stay this year. One more year of paying the taxes. I don't think we make it one more year. When we come back, I'll speak to Jared Weiss about the fact that the Atlanta Fed last week said that the first quarter GDP was going to be 1.3%. Horrible. Guess what they said today? They adjusted it. 0.9. It's going to be less than 1%. That is a total stoppage in the economy. No economic growth of any kind. We are in quicksand. We're not going to make it without repealing Obamacare and the taxes. Wayne Allyn Root, War Now, segment we call Weiss's Wisdom with Jarrett Weiss. We'll be back in a sec. All right, Wayne Allyn Root, welcome back. Another example of how incredibly crazy liberals are. University of New Hampshire researcher Abigail D'Ambrosia has warned that mammals could shrink in the future because of man-made global warming. It's something we need to keep an eye out. The question is how fast we're going to see these things. 3 different species shrank noticeably 54 million years ago when the planet suddenly heated up. One of them, an early compact horse, got 14% smaller, according to analysis of fossil teeth in Wednesday's Journal of Science Advances. These guys were probably about the size of a dog, and then they dwarfed down to the size of a cat, said D'Ambrosia. And now, of course, she thinks that's going to happen again. Horses will be the size of cats because of man-made global warming. Maybe Ms. D'Ambrosia didn't see all the latest proof that global warming is completely made up and that scientists doctored their statistics, and that if you take this to its radical conclusion, there will be no jobs in America. Meanwhile, China and India will continue to spew poisonous pollution into the air by levels we can't imagine. Look at the people of China wearing face masks at all times. And their jobs will all be intact. They'll take our jobs, and we'll have nothing. We'll be a bankrupt debtor nation. Oh, I forgot. We are a bankrupt debtor nation. We'll just be a worse bankrupt debtor nation. Liberals are crazy. Gary was right. We should just declare liberalism a mental illness. Let them all get on Obamacare for mental illness.
Yeah, that was good. I like deplorable Gary's comment.
It wouldn't help.
No.
Doesn't do it because more people will be on welfare. It wouldn't help, but I understand the sentiment. Liberals are crazy. Let's officially declare it.
Yeah, but if it's going to cost us money either way, you might as well just declare their
Just declare the mentally ill and hope they go home and don't bother the workplace anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be a positive.
So a judge in Hawaii just an hour and a half ago or so knocked down President Trump's latest, I guess you'd call it, travel ban. They're temporary suspensions from 6 Muslim nations. Originally it was 7, now it's 6 Muslim nations. It is not a ban. It is not a ban because you're a Muslim. It's a ban because you're from a terrorist nation, a nation where terrorism runs wild and they don't properly vet their people. Totally reasonable, and Barack Obama named those same 7 countries in an advisory at the State Department when he was president. So all Trump did is put it in writing and said temporarily, till we figure out how to vet them properly, we're not going to let him in. Now he's come back and said 6, not 7, to make all the people happy who originally suspended his ban. Now Hawaii, a radical leftist judge, has gone ahead and said the whole country cannot allow that ban, and he's frozen it.
So where does it go from here?
I guess you appeal to a higher court. I don't know. I guess
because it's not over.
No, but you have to appeal to the Supreme Court, I guess. I don't know.
But in the meantime, what they're doing is he's enforcing tougher restrictions as far as the vetting is concerned.
Yeah,
he has the vetting. He's been tightening up the vetting more and more while this is all going on.
Yeah, I hope. But I mean, how do you run a nation when an unelected judge? He wasn't elected president of the United States, that judge. He's a little Hawaii liberal, extremist, radical judge. He's got nothing to do with running the nation. Yet, for all intents and purposes, these judges are running the nation.
Yeah, it makes it challenging for Trump to get things done. Especially, that's the second time this happened.
Right. Well, actually, I think it's the 3rd time it's happened.
Oh, is it?
Well, I mean, it happened once. And then I think it happened the 2nd time when they appealed, I believe.
Yeah.
And now this is the 3rd time with the new ban that's been issued. And actually, it might be the 4th time because there was also a judge just days ago who ruled that the ban did not apply to one specific Syrian family. This judge has taken it to an extreme and said it doesn't appeal to, it doesn't have anything to do with anybody. It cannot be applied to anybody. He's freezing it for the entire nation. Crazy, right?
Yeah, it's insane.
Liberal access. I don't know how you run a nation when a president is ruled over by an unaccountable liberal judge in a weird state like Hawaii. What does that got to do with how the rest of us feel? You know?
Yeah.
Very scary.
I don't know. Hawaii's a great place to vacation, though.
I know that.
You know?
I know that.
But, yeah, we got to take it to the next step and get that changed over because there are lives at stake here, and this is not about politics.
Well, you know, I think the problem is, I spoke about this with a guest about a month ago. We are going to have a 5-4 edge at the Supreme Court, theoretically.
Yeah.
I thought that when good old George Bush appointed the chief Supreme Court justice, and he wound up disappointing all of us in voting twice for the passage of Obamacare. Shocking. So who knows? Maybe the guy Trump's appointing will also shock us and vote the wrong way. But theoretically, we'd have a 5-4 edge when a vote like this comes up, and they would support Trump. You would think, theoretically.
Yeah.
But that choice, Gorsuch, isn't in yet. He's just going in front of Senate hearings this week. So I believe when you appeal to the Supreme Court, they would make this expedited, and so it would very quickly be ruled on in the next 2 weeks to 4 weeks. And that Judge Gorsuch, the new one, will not be there at that point. And that's why Trump has not used an appeal to the Supreme Court.
Right, yeah. They're going to stall as long as they can, but as soon as he's in, that's when he's going to take the next step.
Charlie's telling me JD's on line 2 with some sort of an answer to this. All right, take JD on line 2. JD, you're on with Warren Jared Weiss of Weiss's Wisdom.
I just wanted to say hello to Jared and ask him.
Hey, JD.
A question. Hi, buddy. I believe you have a business downtown. I wanted to ask you, how is the business climate downtown? Is it conducive to opening businesses down there?
Well, first of all, JD, he has businesses all over Las Vegas, but I don't know about downtown. But the whole thing with Jared is he doesn't like talking about his businesses. He's here to talk about general business climate, political views. It's the agreement I made with him is we're not here to talk about any specific business, but talk about the argument.
No, I understand.
Tell me about the
ask
business
about
climate in Las Vegas.
Yeah, the business
in general.
climate in Las Vegas. Now that Trump's elected, everybody's excited.
That was the main reason of my question.
As far as downtown, I don't think it's any different. I mean, that's than the rest of the city. But I think the climate's ripe for economy for the growth. I mean, there's
that's good to hear. And I just wanted to chime in on Bob Irwin. I know Bob, and he was a cop in California for I think 20 years, a detective. And a while ago, you were talking about using the term cop not meaning as a derogatory term. Cop originated from the fact that the original badges for cops were made out of copper, and they shortened the term cops from that.
I never knew that.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
So-
I sent you a text on it. You haven't got it probably.
Copper means copper badges. I get it. That's why they call them coppers.
The badges were made out of copper
Got
back in the turn of the century, and it got shortened down to cop. And that's how the euphemism for policeman became cop.
All right, JD, thank you.
That's good info, JD. Thank you.
Before we go to a very quick ad break, we've got line one. We've got Steve talking about Trump is on TV with a nice rally going on in Tennessee as we speak. Hey, Steve, what's going on?
Hey, Wayne. This is Steve from Henderson. I listened to your interview with Joy Villa, and that was all nice and everything. But I told you she was into Scientology, and if you want to see documented proof on that, she's saying that it helped her, that Scientology helped save her life. However, whatever. She was born a Baptist, but that's one thing. I told you it's a moneymaker. It's a tax thing. Tell me who you're liking for mayor of Henderson, where we live.
Rick Workman, the only choice that you could possibly vote for who has any chance.
You know, I was hoping you were saying that because that's the name I had. That's the name I got circled already.
By the way,
Okay.
there's a nice kid running who's a Republican who supported Donald Trump, who's Hispanic. He's like 19 years old, and he's running for mayor. He's got no money. He's got no chance to win, but he's a very nice kid. He sent me a very nice email, and he asked if I would support him. But Rick Workman is a real, adult candidate running for mayor. We're having a fundraiser at my home this Friday night, St. Patrick's night, for Rick Workman. Yeah, Rick Workman. Go to Rick Workman's website. Hopefully it's up there, information on how to attend the fundraiser.
now.
Yeah, fundraiser's at my house. Starts at 6:30 on Friday night at my home at Anthem Country Club. And I hope all of you listening who live in Henderson will come and support Rick Workman, and you
I'll
get a
support
chance.
him.
Yeah, good. We'll come out to the
Okay.
house, Steve.
Now what about the City Council Ward 3?
I don't know the answer to that. They have not contacted me. I don't know. I don't have any answers.
I can't figure this one out either.
Well, if you come to the fundraiser of Rick Workman on Friday night, I'll bet he'll give us some good answers, who the right people are.
Let Charlie know. Let Charlie know the info.
I'll try and find out, get the answer to Charlie. We'll talk about it next week on the show.
No. I mean, about the fundraiser.
Oh, I don't have all the details of where you sign up. I have no idea. In other words, I just agreed to host it, and other people walk in and set it all up and make it happen. So you're talking to the wrong guy. You're talking to the wrong guy. You got to go to Rick. I guess you'd go to Rick Workman's website, or
Is it at the country club?
what's that?
You said you were having a fundraiser for Rick Workman this Friday night.
Correct. At my home in Anthem Country Club.
Your
Correct.
house.
My house. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
But I'm the last guy who
Okay.
knows details of it, other than it starts at 6:30, is me, because I don't arrange these things. So Rick Workman and his staff are the ones setting everything up, and they would know where you buy a ticket and let RSVP for it.
Okay, cool. So there's a party at Wayne's house this week for Workman. I like that.
That's it.
All right.
That's it. All right. Thanks, Steve. All right. Let's take a quick ad break. We'll come back and finish up with Jared Weiss. Weiss's wisdom, man of great common sense. Talk about the economy, some other things going on. Wayne Allyn, War Now, Jared Weiss. We shall return. All right, Wayne Allyn, we don't have a long time. I want to ask something to Jared, and I want to quickly get an answer from Frank about the courts and how you can overcome all these liberal activist judges. Frank on line 3. Frank, you're on with War. Keep it
quickly,
very tight, very tight.
Yeah, real quickly. Congress, it's in the Constitution. Congress made these district courts with the Senate, with the House and the Senate, that they can disband the Ninth Circuit Court, and create, and it would be a very healthy thing to happen, by the way.
I hope you're right, but I don't believe they have the balls to ever do that. They're just not going to do it. They won't do it.
Not with the Rhinos, McAmnesty, Lindsay scam, and
Right.
a whole bunch of other ones.
Exactly.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Frank. Jared, we have time for me to ask you a very simple question. MSNBC last night, Rachel Maddow released Donald Trump's tax return for the year 2005. She thought she had him. She made it look like this was like Geraldo Rivera opening up, Al Capone's tomb and finding there was nothing there. And she finds out he paid $38 million in taxes for that 1 year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the story should have been on Fox, and they should have been excited about it. It doesn't matter if he pays $100 million or nothing. they're still going to try to make a story about it. And at the end of the day, I don't think anyone really cares anymore.
Some would suggest that Donald Trump was probably the one who planted the return in the investigative reporter's box, gave it to Rachel, and said, "Put this on TV. We've got Trump. We've got him."
I think Donald was more surprised than anybody.
He was the winner, don't you think?
Yeah,
He was the winner.
absolutely.
$38 million. If he really paid $38 million in taxes, which
God
is a
bless
fact,
him.
he should have announced that to the whole world. He shouldn't have waited for Rachel Maddow to secretly obtain it. He should tell
thank
everyone.
her. We should thank Rachel Maddow.
We should thank Donald Trump for paying $38 million in taxes. Guys like him make
Absolutely.
America go. All right, Jared Weiss,
All right,
thanks
Wayne,
for being on.
man.
Weiss's wisdom, common sense small businessman, entrepreneur, historian, family man, great guy, Jared Weiss. I'm Wayne Alaroot. For all the cops out there, all the first responders, all the military, you be safe. We're praying for you. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless.